The Anvil of Delta, the stand of Fredrick Walker. The Mississippi sky was a bruised sheet of tin, hammered flat by a heat that could make a stone sweat. Fredrick Walker stood on the porch of his shanty, his frame a silhouette of gnarled oak against the dying sun. To the world, he was a former slave tilling the exhausted soil of the Burney plantation. To the night riders circling the perimeter, he was a target. But to the tiny girl clutching his pant leg, the child who would one day become Madame C.J. Walker, he was the only mountain that didn't crumble. The gathering storm. The wind began to moan, a low ghost under the floorboard sound that carried the scent of wet leather and bad intentions. Fredrick felt the hair on his neck bristle. He knew the whiskey drummers and the local nighthawks were coming. They didn't take kindly to a man who'd traded his shackles for a deed and a plough. "Go inside, Sarah," Fredrick murmured, his voice like grinding river stones. "Get under the bed, and don't you peer up till the birds start singing." He watched her disappear into the shadows of the cabin. He reached behind the door and pulled out his equalizer, a long-barreled shotgun that had seen more winters than he had. He stepped out into the dust, his boots clicking a slow, rhythmic death march on the wooden planks. The Devil's Posse. Out of the tree line, 3 riders emerged. They weren't wearing hoods yet. They wanted him to see the malice in their eyes. They moved like vultures on a fence rail, patient and foul. "You're sitting on high cotton for a man of your station, Fred." The lead rider spat, his horse dancing nervously. "We reckon it's time you moved along. This dirt has a memory, and it don't remember you owning it." Fredrick spat a stream of tobacco juice into the dust. "This dirt don't remember nothing but blood and sweat," he replied, his eyes narrowing into flinty slits. "And I've paid for it in both. You're barking up the wrong tree if you think I'm fixing to skedaddle." The tension of the forge. The air grew so thick you could have sliced it with a bowie knife. Fredrick was the anvil, and the world was trying to be the hammer. He knew he was between a rock and a hard place, but he stood his ground, with the stillness of a man who had already died once in the fields and had nothing to fear from a second visit. The metaphor. Fredrick didn't just hold a gun. He held the line between the past and the future. The slang. "You boys better hit the breeze," Fredrick warned. "Before you find out that a cornered dog has the sharpest teeth." Crack! A lightning bolt split the sky, illuminating the clearing in a jagged, strobe-light flash. Fredrick didn't fire, but he didn't flinch. The riders' horses, spooked by the sudden electricity and the sight of the iron-willed man who refused to break, reared up. "The Lord's throwing fire tonight, boys," Fredrick shouted over the thunder. "And I reckon he's got a better aim than you." The riders, superstitious and yellow-bellied when the odds weren't 10-1, saw the fire in Fredrick's eyes and the fire in the sky. They realized they weren't fighting a sharecropper. They were fighting a ghost of the Old South that refused to stay buried. With a flurry of curses and a spray of mud, they turned tail and clattered leather back into the pines. Strong, the legacy of the lead. Fredrick stayed on that porch until the moon was a silver coin spent on a black velvet sky. His knuckles were white against the wood of his gun, but his heart was a steady drum. You build the table yourself, even if you have to do it in the dark. The true story wasn't just that Fredrick survived. It was that he planted the seed of iron-willed ambition in his daughter. The midnight forge had tempered the steel, and the Walker name was about to catch fire.